This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
PTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Currently, if you're listening to this as it just came out, I am up in New York preparing for the Bassmaster Northern Open on Oneida. Hopefully the smallmouth are cooperating. So I did a little filming right before I left, and I got an exciting one today. His name has come up on BTL probably 2 or 3 times over the past month, and I said, well, I might as well just get him on the dang show. I know when we talked with Matt Becker when he went through his 45-minute manifesto on the drop shot, Cody Meyer's name came up. And when I talked with Justin Lucas about the smoothest guys with a spinning rod, Cody Meyer's name came up. And I said, dude, it's been like forever. I don't know if we've ever had Cody Meyer on the show. Sure, we've had Cody Meyer on the show. But we've got Cody Meyer on the show today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the BPT. I'm going to kind of grill him on it because they've been to some Cody Meyer places, and he's always done well. But, man, I always pick him to, like, win these things over the last couple years up north, and he's always, like, right on the verge of it. So he is actually on the water now we'll let you tell him what's going on. Cody, what's up, dude?
What's going on, man? Good to be on the show and good to see you, hear from you. And finally getting some time on the water up in New York on Lake Cayuga. So we are here. Beautiful day. Yesterday I got up here and it was blowing like crazy, just unbelievable wind. So today we finally have a nice day. Excited to be out here fishing. And I haven't pre-practiced an event in probably about 2 years. So it feels good to be out here, actually check out the lake. You know, we only have a day and 3/4 on a normal BPT event. So it feels good to kind of get out here and get familiar with the lake. Even though it's a month plus away, it feels good to be out here and at least check out the lake, especially on a place like Cayuga. I've never been.
Never been up there in all your years of touring. Yeah, I guess it hasn't. Elite Series went there in like 2018, and there was an Open there like 8 or 9 years ago, and another Elite Series. But other than that, yeah, I guess it's a new fishery.
Yeah, for me, you know, I think the elites have been here 3 times. I was talking to Jared Littner the other day, and he's been here a couple times. And you know, for me, you know, of course, FLW Tour for 10, 11, 12 years, whatever it was. We never came up here. We always did the Lake Champlain. Heck, we didn't even go to the St. Lawrence River until my first time was last year. And that was with Major League Fishing, of course. So it's good to see some of these new places. You know, for me, I like the new places just because it's a extreme challenge, you know, coming to a place you've never seen, breaking it down. Of course, I did like going to like the Beaver Lakes. I went to 15 years in a row, whatever it might be. But it's cool to be somewhere new for sure.
Make all the Walmart employees go there. They weigh in inside.
Yeah.
Charlie brings you up in the boat. You just basically go there and cash your $30,000 to $100,000 check and move on with your life. That was a gravy train back in those days.
That was. You know what's cool about that is I was talking about this the other day. Literally, we went like the same week every single year. The lake might come up 2 feet or go down 2 feet. And day one, my first spot, it was like this little rock pile. And day one, first cast on Beaver Lake, I would shake a fish off. And like the first day, you'd be so bored to be like, all right, I've been here so many times. I'm going to fish this stuff. They get on the same stuff every single year. And so I've never experienced that other than Beaver Lake, where you're literally shaking fish off day one of practice, first cast of the day.
I'm trying to think if I remember, the only time that I think Beaver Lake was different was in 2008. And that was when, we lost a really good guy in the industry in Mark Pack with Lake Fork Lures recently. And that I remember was when it was just like crazy high and rolling mud. And he was like flipping trash mats up by the bridge.
Yeah.
For largies.
Yeah. Occasionally that would change. I mean, those, all those lakes will fluctuate a lot, of course. And I remember one time I led Beaver Lake after 2 days when Johnny McCombs won. And
that was nuts too.
Yeah, and I had this deep hole, this island top, and there was some really big smallmouth on. I had 18 pounds the first day of all smallmouth, and then a good bag. And you could pull up and you could catch them. And by the first day of practice until the fourth day of the tournament, I think I got fourth or fifth in that tournament. It came up almost 35 feet. So for Beaver Lake, it was crazy. I remember fishing down by the dam. There's this campground, and on the last day, there's electrical boxes from the campground down in the water that you'd fish around, which is really cool. But I guess, but just a crazy experience, man. I've kind of seen it all and done this a long time. It's so fun to check out all these, different lakes, Arkansas, California, Idaho, Florida, wherever it might be. And of course, New York up here.
Is it weird not fishing the pro circuit this year? I mean, dude, that thing paid out like a slot machine for you. Like every single year. Listen, I've just pulled it up. 5th, 11th, 2nd, 13th, 5th, 6th, 5th, COVID year, and 6th in Angler of the Year. You're like right around $80,000 every single year. Pretty much guaranteed at least 2 top 10s a season.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So I did it last year. I loved it. So much fun. I love hanging out with my buddies, talking fishing. Just love it. Like that was my bread and butter for years. And I'll tell you, this year I decided to take it off because I did both circuits last year and it was a lot. I wanted to see how I felt, honestly. Like, I didn't know if I'd really, really miss it or if it was just too much or not enough. And this year I'm like, all right, 100% next year I got to go back and do it because I am missing it. And honestly too, like when you're doing it, you're getting in a rhythm. Like you say, you pull up, you're catching them, and then you go to say a BPT event, you got a lot more confidence. You feel like you're rolling, you're doing right things, you're making the right decisions on the water. So I kind of decided not to, and now I definitely regret it and for sure going to do it next year.
All right. You mentioned that you're out on Cayuga preparing. It's before the cutoff for the next stage of the BPT event.
Yep.
One of the things that since the inception in 19, some people complain about it, other people like it. I like it's new kind of a molding, changing the rules to make it work. We talked a little bit about this off air with the practice rules. When it started, it was like you guys were basically in jail. Like you couldn't have called up Littner and asked him anything. You couldn't even talk to guys you were fishing. Which is just crazy because in absolutely everything else you can. And then, you end up having to talk about life with guys that you've known for 15 years and just talk fishing about, and then it just gets weird.
Yeah.
But but like right now, what is it? Like a 30-day off limits, but you can have someone else in the boat with you. How is it structured now? Because it does seem to change like every year.
It does. It changes. I'll be honest. Sometimes every tournament, you go to a tournament at the tournament meeting, it changes, but it hasn't so far this year. But so, to start the year. So what we had before is, you get in the boat or you come to the lake, and as soon as practice started, I roomed with David Dudley. You can't talk about anything. You couldn't talk about if you got a bite. Are you throwing a black and blue Cinco? Are you throwing a chatterbait? Like literally anything. So we would sit there in the hotel room. I laughed about this with you earlier, but you'd be like, man, so how's your dog? Have you,
with David Dudley too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Cody.
Dude, think of the stories, non-fishing related stories I have heard over the past 4 years rooming with David Dudley. It is, Very interesting. I'll be
Oh
honest.
man.
I've learned a lot of things of crazy life lessons, going after raccoons. Heck, we're even one time in Florida at his brother's house. He lives on Lake Marion outside of Kissimmee. Beautiful ranch. Dudley goes, man, let's get in this Polaris Ranger and let's take off through like the woods. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm down. Let's go. We got nothing else to do. We can't talk about catching fish. So we take off, and all of a sudden, Dudley, full throttle, jumps out of this deal into the bushes, comes out with a possum, holding a possum by the tail. And I thought, this guy is crazy. Okay, this thing is trying to bite him, absolutely crazy. And he goes, Bubba, you think that's crazy? You try to grabbing a raccoon by the tail and see what happens. And I'm sure by this point he's done it. I don't know. I just, yeah, we've had some good times, but very interesting. Back to the story. You couldn't talk about anything. So now this year, actually last year, this part of the rules changed where we could talk fishing. So we can talk like, hey, we caught him on a green pumpkin, jackhammer, a Yamamoto Senko, whatever it might be. You can talk anything you want about fishing except location. So you can't say, I caught them on this bridge piling up in the north end of the lake. And then
to protect the days.
Yes. Yeah. Because, if I'm group A and I catch them on in one marina and it's just loaded, and I told Dudley go to that marina and he ended up, gaining a, huge benefit.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's different. But now, like I'm up here, Tristan McCormick is in the boat with me. We're fishing, we're having fun. And Jared Littner, he had a guy from Georgia come up. And this is actually the first I've heard about this. But I called him. He was with a guy. And I'm like, dude, you can't have a guy in the boat. And he goes, yeah, you can. It's new. He just can't say anything, where to fish or how to do it. Heck, you can even go with a guide as long as he doesn't mention anything about fishing. So I called the tournament director and he goes, yeah, man, that's exactly it. So you could have Tristan in the boat, whoever in the boat, he can't mention fishing. And I'll be honest, that is awesome because I do this for a career, but like, this is my passion, my hobby, my job. And I love doing it because it's what I've always loved to do. And it's fun. So it's cool to have someone in the boat with, at least talk to about whatever. I mean, about getting snagged and breaking off a bait or just what's going on at Tennessee or whatever, just actually talking to someone. So that makes it definitely nice and makes the trip worth it.
How did you meet Tristan? Because like I said, he's Tennessee. Obviously, that name sounds familiar. Recently, just coming off of a top 5 in the Toyota Series on the Potomac River, also representing Bethel in the Bassmaster College Series in the most recent Bassmaster Classic, and then also went through a saga where his Instagram got hacked. Go follow Tristan McCormick official. We'll get to that in the future. But how did you guys end up hanging out?
A really weird story. We were in this Love's truck stop and went in the restroom. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, that's kind of how I met him, except it was at a La Quinta.
Yeah, La Quinta. No, we a mutual friend named John Causey outside of Nashville. I knew John for years, going back probably 6 or 7 years, and he kept talking about Tristan and said, hey, this kid's a future superstar. You should see how his hair just glows in the wind when he's taking off down the lake. And I thought, you know what, cool. And so we got to meet each other years ago and really hit it off. Great guy, love the kid, and he's got a bright future. So it's cool to hang around guys. It reminds me of myself, honestly, a lot of drive and ambition, especially when I was that age. And so we known each other for a while now, and decided to do the Bass Opens this year, and he's doing them, the Northern. So we get to travel together and have some fun and just go fish, and it's been great.
You did mention that jumping into the all 3 of the Bassmaster Northern Opens, a lot of success in the Opens before when the Opens were out on the West Coast. You have a win there way back. It's hard to believe you're that old.
I know.
2005.
I know. I'm going to be 40 next year. Right? My wife reminds me all the time, and I'm like, holy cow, where did the time go? Because it seemed like just yesterday I'm Tristan's age, and I'm like, man, they did an article about Lucas and I, and we were the young guns. Now we got kids, and I got gray hair and losing my hair. Lucas still looks like Fabio, but we, yeah, time just flies by. I'll tell you what, man, it's crazy.
But the last time you dipped your toes into the bass pool would have been 2015, and then you come back and fish the James River. Solid finish there, 27th place firmly. I mean, I don't know what your goals are just to jump into the Northern Open since you have some spare time on your hands with the not fishing the pro circuit this year. But thoughts on fishing the Opens with the no off limits and 230 boats? It's like the Wild West out here, and you know all about the West.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it is interesting. The James River, I showed up a couple days of practice, and I met a guy or saw a guy that I know from Idaho, and he asked me, he's like, man, so how's the fishing? I go, man, honestly, I don't know. I just showed up, and it's a couple days before the tournament. And he had been there for 2 weeks. So to me, it is crazy because I have a hard time focusing for that long. 2 weeks of practice, 10 days, whatever some of these guys do. Me and you talked about it yesterday, man. I mean, the obvious stuff and some of the stuff is there is not a bass within a mile of it because they've been caught for a month straight. And so that's different for me. I'm one of those guys, I fish better just kind of going. Like, you know, sometimes I have a really bad first day and I'm like, all right, let's just scrap everything and just kind of run somewhere and, you know, just fish random stuff. And I've done really well in my career doing that. So that's exciting. But I don't know, man. I can't get into the whole lots of practice, tons of boats, definitely makes it challenging. And there's some really good fishermen with a lot of time on their hands practicing. So first, time fishing open again, it's definitely tough because you got to find some kind of sneaky off the wall stuff to do it. And I'd love to try to win one of these and make the classic. And like I say, regardless, it's cool just hanging out with Tristan and having fun and fishing some fisheries that, you know, I don't get to fish too often, like the Oneida and James River. Never been to Chesapeake Bay. So it's kind of cool to be back.
Yeah, I talk about rule changes. I've been a big proponent, especially over the last couple of years, fishing all the Opens. Like, I believe it's an Opens. I believe anybody should be able to fish it, and I also believe if you're a guide on the water, you should be able to fish it, and it shouldn't be off limits to the point where you can't make a living. But I would like to see like a 1 or 2 week off limits followed by just your official practice. Even if you throw Sunday in there too, you want to throw Sunday and battle the pontoons, have at it. Go out there
Sure.
and graph around on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and half of Wednesday, 3.5 days. That way you're only off the water for a week. If you want to do guide stuff the week previous, you can, but it just kind of gives the fishery a chance. They're going to these fisheries that are paying bass to go there to highlight their fishery. And a fresh fishery is listen, we all do this. You do it for a living, you do it for serious, but we're there to catch fish and have fun. Like we're there. It's fun. We enjoy this. This is tournament fishing. This is what we love to do. It's a lot more fun when you're catching fish than when you're grinding and trying to catch a 14-incher that 9 guys have dragged a Texas rig past. So anyway, that's kind of been my soapbox for the last year is make it, don't do the month or 2 months off limits. Just give it a week. That way those guys who are guides on that fishery only miss a trip or two, and they can still compete in it, but it prevents because here's the next thing. Like, let's say you get good at that, then you end up you're on the Elite Series or you're on the whatever circuit where you do only get a day and a half, 2 days. Now you got to completely relearn how to find fish, and the reason you got there is not the reason why you're succeeding now, and you're getting your teeth kicked in.
Amazing point, man. I've literally actually talked about that with you see guys, and one of my buddies, Kevin Hawk, he won the Forest Wood Cup back in 2010-ish, and I got second there. And Kevin, awesome dude, came from the West Coast. He's no longer fishing. I think he's in some kind of sales, but he made the Forest Wood.
Cody got a call, and then it went mute.
Yeah,
there you go. You're back.
Sorry, somebody called
Kevin
real
had just
quick.
Kevin had just made the Forest Wood Cup.
Yeah, so Kevin made the Forest Wood Cup from the West Coast, and this was in October. He literally said, dude, I am moving to Lake Lanier next week. I said, what? October, from California, no family or anything. So he moved there. He fished there every weekend. spent his whole time there, and it paid off. He won the Forest Wood Cup, and then he ended up making the elites, and he fished the elites for 2 or 3 years. But same thing, he would go to one of these events, Lake Oneida, whatever it was, and he'd be there for a month and a half. He made the elites, and then he really, really struggled when he got into the elites because you have a couple days. So if you're going to make it long term, I mean, you gotta be able to catch them, pretty quick. You got to figure it out pretty quick. And if you're going to have a long, successful career, you're not going to get those 2 or 3 weeks. And I agree with you too, man, to have these good fisheries at prime time. I mean, FLW used to do it. They'd have it 2 week off limits, 3 days of practice, a day off, and then you go. And it really showcased those fisheries a lot better.
Mm-hmm. I'm even fine with the I'm even fine with the info. It's the opens. It's the wild. Go do whatever the heck you want. You want to go out with the guy. You want to do whatever, do it. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. The cream rises to the top. We've looked at it. Look at the guys who are fishing it. Porosnik went through it, and Hackney went through it, and Christie went through it. I mean, the guys are Iconelli went through it. The guys who are good who went through it and fished the opens. They did it again. Even with the guys who are getting the info. How well do you know Kevin? Because I did a documentary back when he was guiding at Gunnersville, and I gotta say, I walked into his house and it was like straight out of like HGTV. Like it was.
I knew him pretty well back in the day, but I haven't talked to him in a while. But yeah, tell us about this house, man.
It was like so. It was right. So it was literally next door to Lucas, right?
Yep.
And I just remember, like, I did the thing with Lucas, and it's all good, and we're filming about all these guys who moved to Gunnersville, and Kevin's house was like all geometric like angles, and there was zero. Like, okay, the Forest Wood Cup was in like a room, and there was like a table with a chair and a computer in it, and then like an ornate stand and the Forest Wood Cup. And that was it.
Yeah.
Like, that was the only thing that was in the room. It was just like a chair, a table, and the Forest Wood Cup. Like all of it looked like an interior designer lived there. It was insane.
Yeah. I'll tell you, at least you got to see the cup, because when I think he lived with Lucas for a little bit. And when he won, I kid you not, I went over there, Lucas and I go way back, California. Heck, he was my co-angler for a while. I remember fishing in his senior high school. He held a fishing tournament as a senior project. So I fished in the tournament and whatever, and known him forever. Great guy. I remember going to the house, and Kevin's like, I said, "Where's the Forest Wood Cup?" He won this thing, and it was a couple months later, and he goes, "Oh, it's in the closet." I said, "What do you mean it's in the closet?" And I kid you not, he put that thing in the closet, didn't want to see it, didn't want to think about it. And just for like a motivation, like he hadn't accomplished something, so he's still got to make it type thing. And I remember thinking, oh man, dude, I at least want to see the thing because I got second to you. So let me see it. How heavy is it? Let me go hold it. All that type of stuff. But nope, never saw it. It was buried, hidden away, locked in the closet, literally.
Good stuff. Talking with BPT pro Cody Meyer, out getting a little bit of practice in before the cutoff for the next BPT event. Going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to dive into some technique-specific stuff. Like I said, your name has come up a couple times with past guests as the smoothest guy out there with a spinning rod, and I want to get some of your thoughts on that and how that plays nationwide and has played into some of your success, or maybe hurt you. Or maybe perception-wise, maybe you don't throw it as much as I think you do. Maybe I just always watch when you are throwing a spinning rod. So BTL, we'll be back right after this with Cody Meyer.
Your key to better fishing this season is Elite FS, now available at a new lower price. Get Elite FS9 today for $9.99, and we'll throw in a C-Map Reveal chart, our premium mapping solution, for free. Elite FS works with all state-of-the-art Lowrance sonar, from chirp, side scan, and down scan imaging with fish reveal to high-resolution active target live sonar. Elite FS9 and C-Map Reveal. Offer ends August 31st.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
We're just about ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Get in order.
Once again, Drew Cook is in the driver's seat.
When you're catching fish for a living, you can't let a little cold, rain, heat, humidity, or anything else get in the way of a payday. I wear APCO. Any fish, any water.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Welcome back to BTL, talking with Cody Meyer from the water. I like doing it from the water. It's always a challenge to do it from the water with the signal and all that, and then you get some guys that get a little antsy, like, you know, dude, it's been 27 minutes. I want to start fishing again. But thank you for taking care of business on BTL this morning. Greatly appreciated.
Yes, good to be here, man.
Are you a Blazer? You're Blazer Suzuki?
Yeah, so made the switch to Blazer in 2020, and Suzuki, this is my first year, so really excited about it, man. Awesome combination, and you know, was a Ranger guy forever, and just, you know, so thankful and thrilled to be in this Blazer. Love this boat, man. I mean, the speed, the handling, everything about it. Fishes really well, and it's cool to be in a 21-foot boat as well. I've kind of always run a 20-footer, so definitely can tell a difference, and man, just super thrilled.
Are you and Dino the only two Blazer Suzuki combos?
Yes. So Braxton Setzer now too on the Tackle Warehouse Pro circuit. Okay. He also has a Suzuki, but yeah, Dean, he started with Suzuki and with Blazer, and you know, I went to Suzuki this year just to have some buddies and just the reliability. You know, there's some saltwater guys and stuff, and honestly too, like the first thing I noticed is the fuel economy on this thing is unbelievable. So of course we know what the price of gas is right now, and that definitely helps, and tons of power, reliability, and just been thrilled, man, all year, to be honest.
Yeah, there you go. I saw that sitting behind you, and then a portion of the boat. And like I said, I always just thought about it and was like, oh, there's a Suzuki.
Yeah. Something different.
I heard they like just give the guys parts, like those things like are pretty bulletproof.
So I'll tell you a funny story. At the James River, they do give parts though, like, hey, we'll give you a lower unit just in case. And it's more for like if you hit a rock pile or something like that, and you do some self-inflicted damage there. But at the James River, I am way down, forget where I was at, somewhere in the mouth of the Chickahominy, and I run across this mud flat. And if you've ever done it, you know, like you start going, you can't shut down, so you just got to basically pin it and go through it. And by the time I got through this thing, I was throwing mud everywhere. I looked back, and the hole on the side of the motor that pees out water is completely plugged. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to overheat the motor. I'm going to be stranded. I don't know what to do. So I keep running the boat. I call my buddy who is a mechanic for Suzuki, and he's like, oh, dude, Cody, no big deal. Just keep going. I'm like, dude, the thing is not peeing out water, literally. And I'm out here on the James River. He's like, no, keep running it. And I knew that's not like the main exhaust port, to cool the motor down. But still, I didn't unplug that thing for literally, it was the next couple days, practice. It was happened on the first day, and then I fished the whole tournament. And finally, after that, I finally got it undone. And this thing never even thought about overheating. Didn't affect it at all. I mean, these things are truly like
That's a
bulletproof, literally.
That's a bold move.
Yeah, so I was a little scared, to be honest, but I kept watching the temp gauge and nothing ever changed. So I thought, well, I'll just run it and fish the whole tournament like that.
All right, let's get into some fishing stuff here.
Let's do it.
Over the course of your career, I think you've become known for, well, not only catching enormous bulbous spotted bass out of secret lakes in California, but your consistency on tour. Catching them where you're supposed to catch them, limits of fish. Like I'd say there for like 10 years, there's like a handful of guys, right? Like you, Thrift, Dudley, Wheeler, but just like guys who always come in with like that. They're always in the mix. And it seems like you've primarily done that with like West Coast tactics and finesse stuff and spinning rod stuff throughout your career. Is that a fair assumption that you would say?
100%. Growing up in the West Coast, one thing that's really cool is you see it all. Like I grew up Northern California, you have the spotted bass reservoirs that are super deep, super clear, not a lot of pressure, but those fish are just so smart with, 20, 30 foot water visibility at times. And so you learn how to really light line finesse stuff, just like where Lucas did, the Aaron Martins of the world. And that was a guy I looked up to, Aaron Martins, growing up. It was crazy how dominant he really was in California. But you see those spotted bass fisheries, and then you drive to Clear Lake and you can frog and flip. And then you have the Delta, of course, the desert reservoirs down in Arizona and Nevada. And so you kind of see it all. And one common thing that I've always gone back to is light line. And mostly I would say it's because just the whole West Coast growing up, it's that clear water. You could not get those fish to bite with bigger line. And, it also comes down to like, people always ask, well, why this or why that? I'm a big believer in stealth. I used to fish with this guy who, his name's Glenn Lockhart. He could catch a fish. I don't care if it was a salmon, a sturgeon, a crappie, a bluegill. He was just a catcher. Like he always caught fish. And one thing he always did is he was so stealthy, real natural, stayed way back and light line. And he always would teach me about, you don't even think about this really, but just the different vibration certain lines put off, like a 6 pound to a 12 pound, massive amount of vibration when that bait is falling, just of the line going down. And you don't really think about that stuff, but I have done it over and over and tested it out, and it truly makes like a huge difference. So for me, the spinning rod, like I say, since I was 15 years old, has just kind of become one with me. And hey, I was throwing the spinning rod. I remember guys from Texas, like my first couple of years on tour, where I was the weird guy, right? Like, dude, you're throwing a spinning rod? And I would go right behind those guys and literally catch every bass that they missed. And they missed a bunch. And so for me, it got me my start. And what I mean by that is I remember in 2000, 8 or 9 at Pittsburgh, Greg Hackney won the Forest Wood Cup. I only got second and I got third. And so I had the money to fish the tour. That was always my dream. And I thought, okay, I'm going to use this money. I bought a brand new truck, paid my entry fees. and use the tax money. And I'm like, this is my one shot. So I had to make it that next year. I had literally no money, a few sponsors, very, very small sponsors. And the only way I could do it is if I made enough money that year and I keep going. And every tournament that year I cashed a check. It was all some sort of finesse fishing, whether it be the drop shot, a Nico rig, wacky rig, something like that. I mean, back then, 15 years ago, when you throw
concepts.
like yeah, and it was deadly. It still is, but back then you could go around almost any bass and you can catch them, and really got me my start. I mean, I love the flip, I love the frog, and throw big swim baits and chatter baits. I mean, that's my favorite thing to do in the world is throw a chatter bait or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I can always rely on that spinning rod. I can pick it up, and you see it so much now. All these guys using it, but 10 years ago, guys would kind of almost laugh at you when you threw it. But man, it's always just bailed me out, and absolutely, I can say that it has got me to this point in my career. Just light line, spinning rod applications. There's not a tournament I've ever fished, I don't believe, that I haven't had one on the deck of the boat, at least, even on like California Delta and stuff. So love throwing the light line stuff, and just I've always been one of those, hey, you got to get the bite first before you can catch it. Mm-hmm. And I have always prided myself on catching fish. I know at one point I had the limit. Tristan's got one here, so I don't know what it is. Looks like
pike.
A little bass.
It's a pike.
But yeah, pike. No, a little largemouth.
It's a pike.
But I've always prided myself on catching a limit. At one time at FLW, I went like 4 years or 4.5 years of catching a limit. I held a record for most consecutive limits ever caught. And then one day I lost like 4 bass, and I only weighed in 4, and it got broke. And then, but it was cool. It was like, I look back now and I'm like, how did I go 4 years of catching a limit every day? But it was all kinds of finesse stuff, whether it was Red River or wherever it might have been.
Okay, we're gonna get real deep here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm struggling with this in the opens, right? So I'm a big stats guy, Cody. I don't know if you listen to the show at all, but last year I fished all 9 opens. I caught 87. I weighed in all but 4 bass. I had, 6 bass. I only had 3 one day at Oneida, but it blew 30. I stayed out on Shackleton out of spite. Bilge pumps ran all day. Horrible decision. The other time, Smith Lake, 1 fish. It is what it is. Other than that, limit every single day.
Yeah.
For the 18 days, 83% were caught on a spinning rod using some sort of that technique. I get into this. I room with Brad Hallman, power fisherman, Oklahoma, Okeechobee Reeds, boat flip. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't catch him flipping, I'll catch him flipping. I see a trend here though. So like everyone's like, dude, you can't like do that. It's like hard. You figured out a way to get top 10s. But if you look back at your stats, and I'm weird, I've done this. Since you went on the FLW2, you had 20 top 10 finishes with no wins from 2010. Yep. Do you think that your success is also an Achilles heel when it comes to lifting the first place trophy with finesse tactics?
I do. I really do. Now, obviously, the St. Lawrence, the dominant smallmouth spotted bass lakes, you could definitely win on a spinning rod. And not to say you can't, it's just Ish Monroe always gives me, heck about this. He's like, dude, you can't win with the spinning rod, which, you look at it and you're right. It's so hard to do. But what you do is you're always making championships. I never missed the Forcewood Cup when I fished FLW. And for me, I've sacrificed some of those wins. Like we've all know those guys that they win and they do awesome, but they never make a championship, or they win and then 2 years later they're back and they're doing something other than fishing. And so for me, at least, it's allowed me to really live my dream and do this for forever and not forever, but for 15 years. And
Sure, you can
and
do
I'm
as
very
long as
proud
you
of that.
want.
Yes. And you look at like the Larry Nixons, right? Like
Yeah.
he won a ton back in the day, but like a total worm dragger, but still catches them. And so you do sacrifice winning those tournaments. And, not every tournament I throw a spinning rod, of course. I mean, I always have throw it a little bit, but I've had some great top tens. Potomac River, I can think about it last couple times. I've had a shot to win both of them, throwing a chatterbait and punching and throwing a frog. But I would say, yes, if you're spinning rodding it up as much as I do, you're definitely going to have a harder time to win for sure. But you're going to be consistent, most likely cash checks, and have a chance at making the top 10 and some type of a bigger prize championship at the end of the year.
So is there a flaw in that rationale? Is there a perfect hybrid system where you force yourself to put them away when you're close to the win and maybe finish 20th instead of 8th? Or is that just what comes to the territory? That's where I'm struggling with right now is, your stats are through the roof, Cody. I mean, you're supporting your family. You're making a great living doing this. You're one of the top anglers in the world. But right now I'm like, man, do I need to like completely reinvent? So I put myself like, have you gone through that in your head? Like, man, maybe I need to change or create a hybrid or work on a different to get the W's? Or is that not something that's like high up for you? You there?
Yeah. I've thought about this a lot, and I've tried to change up, like I've said to myself, okay, we're going to go to this lake here this week and we're going to, flip and frog and punch and just totally change it up. And then the problem is with me, I get like 4 or 5 hours into it with no bites. And I'm like, all right, look at that dock over there. Like, I know I can skip a wacky rig under it, at least catch one. And I just love catching fish so much. But I mean, I have tried and like I say, you go somewhere like Sturgeon Bay and you can win on a spinning rod, but there's got to be a happy medium. I obviously haven't figured it out either. But catching fish, it's always seems like it's, if you really need to get a bite, it's going to help you out. But the whole, to win on it, man, it has been awfully tough. And so you got to have a happy medium. Like maybe, you start off obviously going bigger off in the day and really trying to get a couple of those big ones. And then you could always fall back or something like that. But a lot of tournaments, you see, and you throw it all day and you're steadily culling and you're getting up there and it's everything you can just to get that to try to make a top 10. So that's I would say $1 million question. If we could figure that out, man, we can hold up a lot of trophies and make a lot of money for sure.
Well, you have made a lot of money. You have made, you're like $1.5 million. But okay, last question on this and then we'll move on. These are things that keep me up at night, Cody, and there's like 5 people that can answer them. You're one of them. Can fish become conditioned to the finesse presentations? We see what the Alabama rig has changed. We've seen the Whopper Plopper. We've seen the Chatter. All very effective. Not as effective as when they first came out. Finesse fishing is a little bit different, typically relying on a feeding bite instead of a reaction bite. But as forward-facing sonar and as shows like this talk about it, and as we see Pickwick on the Elite Series and the BPT guys and spinning rods galore on non-traditional places, is it ever concern you like, man, there's too many guys that are doing this now? Or is that such a natural presentation that there will always be fish to caught on finesse tactics?
So there will always be fish to be caught for sure. It does worry me though. I've just seen it, like if we're talking spotted bass, man, those dudes are so smart. I've always said this, they literally breed into their young to like not bite some. Like I'm not kidding, man. We used to go on the West Coast, and I don't know if you know what a darter head is, but you take a darter head and a worm, and it was automatic, like unbelievable, man. You can't even hardly get a bite on one anymore. And it's like, what happened? These fish weren't even alive when that thing was the deal. And I've just seen it now, like Kentucky Lake, you know, I'm with Tristan, he fishes TVA a bunch, but when I first started going to Kentucky Lake, Pickwick, Chickamauga, oh my gosh, you'd get in one of those schools and you could air the whole thing out and catch almost every bass in there with a drop shot Nico rig. And of course, that still really, really works, but you could get on a school now and you could drag a drop shot around and you think it's so automatic and you catch a few, but there's 100 of them down there and you catch 10 of them, where back in the day you'd catch 80 of them. And so even those fish, I really feel are getting conditioned to it. And then you see someone, you know, Taku Itu or whatever, you know, something new from Japan, a little finessey, and it's like, it's back to game on, you know. So there's definitely always something. Like I've just noticed, you know, different worms over the years have just kind of gone away and you find something new that really works. But I think there's always will be fish to be caught on it. Just light line. It's so natural. They don't see the line. They don't feel that vibration of a big line. So it's always going to be helpful to catch fish, but I do think you're going to have to keep switching it up a little bit to consistently always catch them. Of course, the shaky head drop shot's always going to be work. It's so natural, but it's not like back in the day. I mean, even looking like a Kaitak, man, a little tiny swim bait, it is definitely not as good as it used to be. Because I'll tell you what, man, we used to order those things from Japan on eBay 15 years ago. Unbelievable. Like you could close your eyes and throw it out there and catch them. And it still works, of course, but that stuff is, the bites have gone way down because they're so used to it.
I will say, if there's one kind of unexplored with the live coverage and all the coverage like BTL shows and stuff, it's hard to keep anything under your hat. But when you get around the masters of finesse, it seems like there are certain little things that the finesse guys will not talk about, little baits that they will not use when it's on camera. Like there are some tricks, and it seems like it's the finesse guys that are just like, man, I will even sacrifice bites on camera to not show this because I know that are you kind of that same way too? Do you have a couple things that just are yours and will stay yours?
I do. I to be honest, I do. Like last year at Smith, I got third in the pro circuit, and Cox won, and Spencer Sheffield got second. And I have something for spots and suspended bass. Awesome. I was literally terrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, when they put a camera in the boat, and I'm like,
lost him there for, yeah, I got you back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Am I back? Sorry, my wife was calling me there.
It's all good.
But yeah, I was literally terrified. I'm like, dude, how worth it is this? Because it's one of those things where on like the West Coast, a spotted bass, stuff like that, it's so deadly. And I know that sounds crazy. You're fishing for a ton of money, and I still did it. But the camera guy asked me multiple times, what, hey, talk about this. I'm like, sorry, bud, I love you, but I can't say it because the guys at home would kill me.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, I want to let you get back to fishing. I do want to congratulate Tristan there. We got to get that hair on camera. Let me take the final break for BTL, and then we will come back with Cody Meyer. Dude, I enjoyed that segment probably way more than I should have. That was good stuff. All right, BTL.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. Two sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look. That matte Sexy Shad is definitely the the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute, every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
All right, welcome back to BTL. That is not Cody Meyer. That's Tristan McCormick hanging out with Cody Meyer. You just know everybody, dude. You make a Bassmaster Classic, you pop a couple top fives, and then you get to just hang out with some of the best who've ever done it.
Man, I'm very fortunate to have a relationship with Cody like I do. And like I said, we met several years ago, and we've become really good friends and get to travel together. So when I enjoy time like this, and when I get time to do things like this with him, it's very, very enjoyable.
Now, I know you spent 7 months straight up at Thousand Islands last year. It was some sort of record number of days, and I'm assuming you put the spinning rod to work there, but you just don't look to me, and I'm not really sure your fishing style like you, just really love the spinning rod. I think you'd rather boat flip than belly land.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I just got up here after Potomac, and my favorite way to catch them is a chatterbait, of course. But back to the spinning rod deal. Cody over the years has taught me a lot about spinning rods, little secrets here and there. It's dude, go do this, go do that. And I go out there and it's just tong, just every time I'm oh my gosh, this is retarded. So I've really tried to grow myself on the light gear setup. And of course, like you said, last summer I spent a ton of time up north on smallmouth, and it was just so much fun. And I learned a lot. And we did good in that college national championship, which led me to the classic. And I really truly I believe, if I wouldn't have spent the time up here, I would have not had that finish.
Fantastic. Well, I wanted to get you on to close the show out. A couple of things. Well, first of all, congratulations on your engagement. That's a big life step.
I appreciate it. Yes, it is.
Congratulations on recovering your Instagram account. That's another big life step.
Well, I started a new one. I didn't recover it. I wish I could have, but man, it's crazy. Life, this social media stuff, man, it's insane what can happen by one click of a button.
And if you watched the market lately, hopefully any of you who saw that they took over Tristan's account did not follow any of their crypto advice, because you're totally in trouble now if you did. But what's the new handle? What's the new handle?
It's
go ahead.
My new Instagram is it's still the same, McCormick Fishing, but then official. So it's McCormick Fishing Official is my new one. You can't miss it. I posted several times about my other account that's been hacked, but I still get messages every day. So yes, it is still hacked. It is not me, but I'm gonna try to grow the new one and get back up there, new and better, and do greater things on the new one.
And then third, congratulations, top 5 in the Toyota series on the Potomac.
I appreciate it, man. That was, like I said earlier, chatterbaiting. That's by far my favorite way to catch them, and I got to ask the woman of my dreams to marry me Saturday. I leave Sunday, drive down there, and just practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Man, I knew as soon as I got there, it was going to go down, and they were biting. And it did show out. There was a lot of weight caught. that place is improving every single year. It gets better and better and better. And years ago, your 16-pound bags have now turned into 20-pound bags. So it's a phenomenal fishery.
And then I'll see you next. Well, like I said, we're filming now. We're actually at Oneida, but
right
back on the grind for the Opens for the Final 5.
That's right. Hopefully, Oneida is not stingy this year, and maybe take a bite or two.
All right, that was it. I just wanted to jump on. Tristan, thank you. You guys enjoyed it. It looks like one of those picture-perfect postcard New York days. T-shirt, not sweating, no wind.
You don't get very many of these days out here.
Very jealous. Very jealous. Tristan, thank you. Cody, thank you very much. Get back to the grind, practicing for the upcoming BPT event. Good spinning rod talk, good theory talk. It's all good.
Sounds good, buddy. We appreciate it, and we'll see you here in a week or two.
All right, take it easy. That was Cody Meyer with a bonus appearance from Bassmaster Classic qualifier. Tristan McCormick. It's a small world. Everyone kind of pretty much knows everybody, but really enjoyed that show. Cody Meyer, one of the best to do it. Finesse fishing wise, his stats show it. Jumping in a few of the Opens this year, and also on the BPT, those Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit guys are probably glad he's giving him a break. Perennial top 10 finisher there. So that is it for BTL today. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.